Hey there, everybody. It's Lailani with the Magical Solution, and I am back. I have been gone now for, I want to say 3 months. There's been a lot of things happening, good and not so good, but at the end of the day, it's exactly what it's supposed to be, right? And I'm really excited to be kicking off this next season, this new season of This Is How We Grow, with probably the coolest motherfucker ever. Like, we spoke the other day, and I swear to you guys, we could speak forever. So make sure you reel us in. That's another thing. A homework assignment I'm gonna give you while we're on live tonight. Hello, Stephen. Hello, Zelma. Hello to everyone who is watching us live right now, and to everyone who will be watching on replay. Make sure you share this live. Right? We're doing this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all the places at The Magical Solution. But before we bring this amazing person on, I know you heard the rustle and bustle and all the good gossip about this wonderful book right here. This one. And if you don't know, now you know. This is The Evil Eye, The History, Mystery, Magic, and the Quiet Curse by Antonio. And please, Antonio, do not hurt me for this. Ready? Antonio Pagliarulo. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm saying. But this guy is amazing. And the conversation we're going to be having tonight about the evil eye, you definitely do not want to miss. So make sure you get your questions ready. Make sure you grab yourself a drink, some popcorn, chillax, because we're in it for the night. We have Anthony, who has been published by the Washington Post, NBC News, New York Daily News, The Wild Hunt, and Religious News Service. He is the son of Southern Italian immigrants and was raised in a home where the magical arts were commonplace. Antonio currently lives in New York, and you can definitely reach him at www.antoniopagliarulo.com. I will make sure to put that in the comments section. So without further ado, let's bring this amazing person in.
We're here. We made it.
Hello. We fucking made it.
Yeah, huh? That was a riot.
Dude, oh my God.
Technological.
So just to kind of fill you guys in on everything. So first, we missed our first pre-interview because your girl over here is a hot little mess. Then we went for our second pre-interview, and your boy over here could not enter the studio. Then tonight we were getting ready for our live, and both of us couldn't figure out the audio, and it was me, of course, the whole time. So it feels like it's kind of in the air for this live. Somebody jealous of us right now, Anthony?
No, they are. They're about to get something back because I'm surrounded by a lot of good protection shields here. So
thank you. My husband just brought me my fancy bitch juice. I have no idea what's in it. It's just alcohol and sweet and delicious.
You're good. So I have my fancy bitch juices. I have a cup of tea because if anyone knows where we are in the Northeast, the allergy season has gotten. So I was going to start by saying, forgive me if I sound a little bit, hoarse. It's just we're in the middle of sort of, I don't know. We call it more than an allergy season, but yes, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
I'm so honored to have you on. When you said yes, I was like, oh.
Yeah, and we had such we were supposed to have a kind of a 15-minute call about technical stuff and quick questions, and we were on for at least an hour. So yeah, a lot.
And I hope we do it again tonight. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about this amazing book. So those of you who have not purchased this book yet, please do so. I'm going to leave a link in the comment section shortly. But this book honestly is a work of art. You have in here pretty much everything. I mean, we've got, well, not everything, because I know we talked about a few things that you were wanting to put in this book, and we'll get to that later on in the show. But I mean, you go over the history, you go over the symbols, you go over the different cultures, you go over how it moves. You even have some evil eye workings in here in case you want to add a little extra something than just the intent. And I have to say, this is one of those books that I think every spiritual person, not just a magical practitioner, but any person should have in their library. You know, you spoke specifically about the fact that there's something about the evil eye that no matter where you go across the world, no matter who you speak to, somebody has some sort of opinion or experience or a sense or an idea of what the evil eye is. Why do you think that is?
You know, we can look at it, and it is one of those things. You look at the evil eye, and it has this history that goes back thousands of years, and then here it is today, alive and well, and makes you wonder, what is it about? There are so many superstitions, so many different practices, but the evil eye has remained, and I think it is because, well, I think it's so ubiquitous in so many cultures, creeds, religions, ethnicity, everything. I think it's that way because the root of the evil eye is, for the most part, the root of the evil eye is emotion. It's envy, it's jealousy, it's negativity, it's resentment. And those are emotions that we have all felt, or we have all been on the receiving end of someone's jealousy, someone's anger, someone's resentment. And I've said before that this book here, you waved it, I'm going to wave it to this. I always tell people that it's a friendly reminder about an unfriendly subject, because a lot of people don't, it's uncomfortable. No one wants to admit, oh yeah, I've been jealous before, I've been jealous, but it's an absolutely natural thing. Just as much as you feel any other emotion, you feel happiness, you feel sadness, you feel, anything, you're going to feel envy, you're going to feel jealousy, you're going to feel resentment. And it can be about just about anything, it affects every area of life. So I think it comes back to the fact that we're talking about, to some people, so a lot of people are talking about this quote unquote supernatural phenomenon, but it's a very, very natural thing, because comes from within us. It comes from our emotions, and every human being, we experience these emotions. There's no getting around them.
Exactly. Now, here's my thing, because no one really is exempt from the evil eye, or at least from receiving it. Are people also not exempt from sending it? Like, can you send the evil eye without knowing you're sending it? Because I know, for example, family members, for example, you might have a wedding coming up or a baby shower coming up, and family love you and they're there for you and they support you. But there are just those few family members that might wish, oh, I wish I had a baby, or, oh, I wish I was getting married this year. And we don't realize that even those little wishes for yourself can kind of tripwire something, can kind of set something off.
I say so I go over there are three ways that I define the evil eye. The first is intentional. You feel jealousy, you feel envy, you feel anger, resentment, you recognize it toward a person, and you're in touch with it, and you're, why did they get the promotion? Why did they have that? I should have it, not them. So you recognize it, and it's a very, very conscious force. The second way is it's unintentional, and you can cast it unintentionally. And that's why you see in a lot of different cultures, people will have different things. People will give a compliment and automatically say, oh, God bless you. Oh, he's so cute, God bless him. The house is beautiful, God bless your house. Or you have other things. People spit. I have a whole section in the book called Spit to Transmit, the Power of Your Saliva. And it goes back so far about the power of saliva. But these people knock on wood. And, I grew up, my parents are familiar, I grew up in an Italian culture. Every time someone sort of gave a compliment, you did this under the table, you did your horns under the table toward them. Or if they were in your pocket and someone gave you, you do that. God bless them. These are the practices that, so you don't unintentionally give the evil eye. The third way I talk about is also an uncomfortable way, but I grew up very much with this. It's boasting too much. You want to talk too much about your good plans. I talk about this, I write about this in the book, and I say, just, be mindful. Don't talk so much about all those great plans you have or all the great stuff that's happening in your life. Yes, you have to celebrate your achievements. You have to live. You have to be, happy. You got to give praise where praise is due, but do it mindfully. And sort of, and that's what a lot of this is about. When I talk about unintentional, intentional, it's about being aware of the evil eye, which helps you sort of become a bit of an, you learn how to curtail your words a little bit more, your actions a little more. You don't need to make 15 posts on social media about the new house, the new car, the new boyfriend, the new girlfriend, the new relationship, the money, whatever it is. Right. You don't need to do that. Be mindful of that, because that kind of boasting is what also brings about the evil eye. It's kind of, in a way, it's tempting fate. So those are the three ways. But to your original question, yes, the unintentional is a very big way, and that's why these practices come in: the knocking, the spitting, many saying God bless you, God bless them. So that's a way to ward it, to make sure you don't unintentionally give the evil eye.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about these different kinds of cultural practices, these different types of folk practices that we see here. So, my audience is definitely of the type that is engaged in some kind of spiritual practice, right? So let's talk a little bit about like where the evil eye sort of originated from and how it moved throughout history, and what are some of the folk practices that you stumbled upon in your interviews and in your research for this book?
So historically, most scholars will tell you that it absolutely goes back at least 5,000 years to ancient Egypt. Some will say it goes back to Mesopotamia. There are, at Tel Brak, there were these, I think it was in 1938, there were these idols that were unearthed, and they were eye idols. So it goes back very, very far. You could see it, the Greeks, the Roman, the literature of the Greeks and Romans. You could see it now. Obviously, it's gone straight through all this time and through many, many cultures. I grew up in an Italian home. My parents, as I said, are from Italy. They came here as teenagers. My siblings and I were born here in New York, and we grew up here. But in our home, for example, the cultural practices, it was going back to what I said earlier. You were very careful about what you said. You didn't speak, even a new toy. I remember as a kid, you didn't unveil that new toy right away. You kind of did it slowly, because if it was this expensive, shiny new toy, there was a fear that it was going to
break or something.
Jealousy from some other kids, and the eye was going to get you or that toy in some way. And so it goes back, it's ingrained that far back. Not speaking about those things. Also, as I told you, there are times I still catch myself. I'll be walking around and I have this in my hand, in my pockets, at all times, because who's looking at you? So there are a lot.
And it's tough because I'm not to interrupt. I'll get back to the history one, but that's such a tough line to toe, because you have on one side people saying, well, I should not be ashamed of my accomplishments. I should not have to hide my life. If they're jealous, fuck them if they can't take a joke, like that kind of vibe. And then you have the other side that is almost to the point of paranoia, where it's just like every move you make has to be coveted with like oils and prayers and stuff. So where do we find that balance? It's not just about mindfulness, is it?
No, it's not. And I write exactly what you just said. I literally write about in the book. I actually say in the book, this is not to silence you into a life of, just being quiet or to paranoia. The whole point of this is getting your awareness of the evil eye up, and then understanding how you can incorporate practices to either ward away the evil eye, or if you have it, you think you have it. In the book, there are techniques to diagnose it. And then there are techniques, if you have it, you can completely banish it, you can get it away, and you can learn how to keep it away. Also, not only yourself and your own life, it affects your home, it affects your objects, it affects your loved ones, it can affect your finances. So there is a very fine line, and I state very explicitly in the book, you do not have to live a life of paranoia, because it's not all the time it's going to happen. And believe me, tons of friends who, and I love them all, and many of them are probably watching and they say, oh, he's talking about me, don't worry, I'm not. But every slight thing, it's like they'll call me, they'll text me, it's like, oh, I know I have it, you have to go do it, tell me I have it. And I'll know it's relaxed, calm down. It's not always that. And sometimes, and I even state in the book, when people ask me, can you do this, can you do that, I'll ask them, when was the last time you ate? What did you do? Did you hydrate today? Because, as much as you think you have a really bad headache, and I'm sure you do, are you sure you ate recently? I remember back in, I think it was February, a friend of mine called and he said this pain, he couldn't explain all day long. He had this pain. I know.
Bitch, he's dehydrated.
You know what it was? I even asked, because I know him. He's like, can be a little bit, about things. And I said, how did you sleep? Did you sleep? And he was like, oh yeah, I woke up, the sleep was bad. Sometimes your symptoms are going to be physical symptoms that are not going to be rooted in the evil eye. And that's the whole point. That's where the awareness comes in. And so that you can learn to tell the difference between, oh, I have the evil eye on me and I have this energy that I need to get rid of. Or, you know what? No, it's not. I'm going to take aspirin or Advil, or I'm going to take a nap, or I'm going to eat, or I'm going to drink, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to close my eyes and meditate, or I'm going to do something else, because it's not always the evil eye. And so when you build a sense of awareness of what it is, you become aware of how to not live your life in a state of paranoia, and just how to live, but live with awareness and live mindfully. That's
Facts.
definitely.
I get made fun of all the time in my little small circles because I talk so much about awareness, discernment, practicing meditation, really getting in tune with your inner knowing, your divination skills, your spirits, because these are all different ways that can warn you if something is off. You know, not just how your body is feeling, not just how your aura is feeling, not just what's happening when you meditate, but like your spirits can warn you of something, or your cards can warn you of something. So it's just important overall to have that awareness in every area of your life.
In every area. And for example, people get surprised often when I tell them one of the signs, did your amulet break? If you wear an amulet, your amulet has broken, you know, it breaks. So you look at it, maybe you're wearing a hamsa, maybe you're wearing an azar, maybe you're wearing whatever it is, and you see a crack or it breaks, you have it on the wall, it fell, it broke. That actually means that your amulet has worked. It has absorbed the hit. It has taken the hit of the evil eye. So people say, oh, but my amulet broke and that's bad. Or, no, that's not bad. It's bad because you got to get a new one. But your amulet worked, and that's what it did. It absorbed the hit. So even being aware of that, you can change the way you interact with your own self and with your own, Zabaches, absolutely, the way you're looking at things, you know, and it becomes, it's funny, we're talking about, when we use our language, we say how you look at things, and we're talking about the eye and the evil eye, and it is funny or interesting how you look at things and then how they look at you, because once you become aware of it, you know, you become aware of it and you notice right away, you know, I'm aware of what I was saying, I'm aware of when I'm acting, and then I'm aware that maybe I have this energy that's not so good around me because of something that happened, or you can't always pinpoint it, but you've learned how to diagnose it through various different methods. Even with tarot cards, I give something to diagnose if you want to use cards. And then once you know it's there, you can have many methods to take it off. And what it gives you is a sense of agency, a sense of control in that aspect. That negativity, so many people have said to me over the years, I know I have it, but what do I do? Then I'll tell you. And that's really, the seed of the book. You can be in control of that energy, and you can, cleanse yourself, your home, of that energy.
Totally. And there's also, I teach my students a lot when it comes to working the evil eye, but just overall protection. I teach my students more often than not that protection is a proactive measure, not a reactive measure, right? So when we're thinking about the evil eye, there are proactive things that you can do. There are cleansings, there are wards, there are ways in which you can sort of bounce that energy back and not even allow it to enter your sphere in the first place. So speaking of that, right? So let's get back to that history question, because I know, like, for these folk traditions that we're talking about, especially throughout history as the evil eye moves through, like in Spanish culture, for example, in Puerto Rican culture, we have all kinds of things, especially when we're dealing with babies, because we try very much to be very proactive with the babies, right? So we have certain bracelets that we put on them. We have certain earrings that we pierce on them, certain charms that they will wear on a necklace or will hang on the mobile above their bed. So there's little things that we do for our babies to sort of pave the way for a clean, clear, unhindered path, if you will. Have you seen that in your research as well?
Absolutely. And that starts, I'm going to just say this, interestingly. So growing up, again, the baby shower thing, and I write about this too. My mother, when the first time and my mother, as I told you, she was born in Italy and then raised in Argentina and then came here. So by the time she got here, she's learning she had her third culture here, but I remember getting invitations for baby showers in Italian culture. Like, that's a no-no. Like, we didn't do baby showers because, you don't talk about something as delicate as birth or childbirth until you're really close to that pregnancy or the baby's born. But the baby shower was a no-no growing up, and my mother was very, very shocked. I remember it sometimes she'd be like, well, what are they having a baby shower? Like, that's that's dangerous. You have a lot of different things going on there, and a woman is pregnant and it's a delicate state. So I saw tons of that in my research from all cultures. Not only bracelets, charms, the use also for babies, simply the simplest things. A mother's saliva is considered extremely powerful through many cultures. Uh, a mother will lick her thumb and touch a child's forehead.
Or
She can do
spit.
the same thing, or spit. She can do the same thing on a crib. The tying of the ribbons, not only on an infant's wrist. Now, in Italian culture, we see this a lot. They do a ribbon. They can do it at the baptism or just after the baptism. Sometimes it's hidden because the priest doesn't always want to see it. Sometimes they see it and they don't say anything, but because they know what's going on most of the time, yeah. But the charms for the infants are huge, and for children in general, because children are very, very susceptible to the evil eye.
Yes.
Children are innocent. They're not very aware of things, and they speak. They say things. They don't necessarily have filters. They don't, until you get older. So they're just talking, and they're saying this. So the research that I did, I found so many practices in terms of what was done for children, aside from even different kinds of stones that are put on or put in sort of underneath a crib, well out of reach of an infant, just underneath the crib. Someone told me that they used it was a braiding of almost a braid of like rosemary. That's something that was used and put on the wall, again, away from the crib, because rosemary's big for warding.
Right.
Prayers are said, different psalms, different from every religion, mantras. It's incredible for the evil eye, what is done for infants and children, and also for pregnant women. In every single culture that I interviewed people for, everyone spoke about pregnant women, and also being in a very delicate state and being very susceptible to the eye. That was also a big thing. You said the bracelets. Bracelets were huge. Pins, ribbons, not pins, ribbons that were either sort of latched on to
or sewn into the clothes.
Or if you'll even see them on, what am I doing? I'm having a Claritin moment. With the wheel, what they're pushing the babies in the carriage are tied on to the handle of that. That's very, very popular. You can see, I've seen that in the city a lot. You'll see a red ribbon, you'll see a blue ribbon, you'll see string around it very much. So the amulets there can be as simple as thread. It can be also something that you don't see. A lot of times, something as simple as a mother having salt in her own pocket and having her child with her is enough of a defense there in different cultures. Water is a very, very big, just taking water and right onto your palm and, sort of touching at certain points. For some, it's the heart, it's the center, the forehead is very big. Some, it's taking a cup of water and, in parts of Italy, you pray. You'll say a prayer over water in different parts of the South. And sometimes you'll touch the water and you've made your own sort of holy water.
Holy water, right.
Child's for it. And it can be very, very personal. You not necessarily have to say a prayer that you were taught in catechism or something like that. You can be a prayer that's just literally for you, for your child, for your children in general. And that is what you're doing with the water. And you bless, you just touch your child's forehead, you touch their wrists, you touch, as they get older, you touch their car when they're getting
Yep. Oh yeah.
Mother, when my car, forget it. It was like a fortress inside my drive.
So like, what's then on the cover of your book, you say history, mystery, and magic of the quiet curse. Now, when you say curse, all right, like normally people think about, jars and lots of ingredients and incantations and spirits being summoned from deeps and all that, right? Yeah. So we see this, but when you're talking about these sort of preventative folk measures or these quick little reactions to possible evil eye, we're looking at least from what I can tell, just the response to the evil eye or the prevention of the evil eye as soon as you are aware of it. But what happens when you're not aware of it and you allow that evil eye to sort of stay and fester? Does it get worse? Like, does that make it a curse all of a sudden? Or
there are so many people who don't know actually that the evil eye is operating in their lives. And that's why I have a big list of symptoms and signs. in the book for you to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many people who have no idea. And they'll say, but when you look at things in your life, I say to people, so, and I write about it, people will have really sometimes just bizarre things happen to them. Think about it. You've gone that week and you've had, the flat tire, you lost your keys, you lost your wallet, you dropped 3 dishes, and this is going on for days. Sometimes people have it, they talk about, oh, the last year was just really rough. This one lost a job, this one got into an accident, this happened, that happened. So it operates in many different ways, and people aren't always aware of it. But it's operating, and it does. That's the awareness is number one. But once you're aware of it and it's there and you see it, getting rid of it, but it will stay in your life. It doesn't just sort of go away. It doesn't just sort of burn off most of the time. It's very, very rare that happens. I mean, people have said, I know many magical practitioners who say, well, eventually a curse is going to fade away. And to a degree, that's true to a degree, but why would you wait that long?
Right, exactly.
When there are preventative measures, when there are also measures you can take to banish.
And when the person who sent you that curse is still very much well and alive, who could reactivate or keep thinking about whatever.
And so often this is the case too. And that's why I say it's uncomfortable, because if you sit down and think about it, at the beginning, when the book came out, I made a short video and I said, if you think everyone from your past wants you to be successful, wants you to be happy, wants you to get the job, do this, get this, or live your best life, you're wrong. If you think there are people in your present life who just absolutely, completely, wholeheartedly want you to go out, be happy, live your best life, and they have no envy or malice towards you, you're wrong. And that's a hard thing to understand and to accept, but it's true. It's reality. And why would you wait? And understanding that is is a big step. And that's hard for people. And I get that totally. That's really hard to say.
There's a whole psychology behind it. There's trauma behind it. There's all kinds of stuff.
It is. And you think about it, I do say this in my book, the person you think is a friend or that coworker who's constantly cheering you on or doing this, they don't always have your best intentions at heart. And that's not easy to understand. The concept is simple, that someone is jealous or someone is envious, but it's not easy to digest that. So it's simple in a way to understand it. It's not easy to get through it, but getting through it is understanding that it's real, that it's valid, it does happen. We don't want to go up against that feeling that, oh, you know what, this one might harbor some pretty negative thoughts against me or some negative energy against me. You don't want to think that, but when it comes to, as you know, magical practitioners know this, when it comes to negativity, curses, the only way out is through. You're not going to put up something, you're going to turn the other cheek, you're in trouble.
Facts. And another piece of it too, I think we were talking about this the other day, is, how do curses or evil eye or jinxes or hexes, how do they manage to penetrate and manifest and fester within someone's life, and take root for so long? And we talked a lot about how it targets weakness. And it targets the susceptibilities of a person. So what I loved that we spoke about, and it's also in your book too, like we spoke about how the evil eye and magic in general, honestly, it takes the path of least resistance. It's not, there's no discrimination. Just because someone is jealous of your dress doesn't mean that it's going to manifest that your dress is going to, burst up in flames.
Right.
You know what I mean? It could manifest in the fact that, like, you maybe are predisposed to diabetes that runs in your family. You may have high blood pressure that runs in your family. Now, all of a sudden, that gene gets turned on and it's starting to, manifest. So these are some of the ways in which curses and energy and hexes kind of take root. And so the awareness and the proactiveness about keeping those things at bay is also about doing the work. Like on your body, on your mind, on yourself. Would you agree?
Oh, huge. You have to do the work. And developing any kind of practice, whether it's a spiritual practice where you're praying, where you're meditating, whether you're, standing in front of a candle, whether you're speaking to a saint, a spirit, an angel, anything. That's the spiritual side of it. That's one side of it. But for people who aren't particularly spiritual or don't want to go down that route, don't forget, nature is is the most powerful, and
That's it.
herbs are so powerful. There are woods, there's incense to burn, there are woods to burn, there are herbs you can use, just to, I mean, I've given examples in the book. I mean, the day of your wedding, just as an example, I think I mentioned this in the book, a bay leaf, spit in a bay leaf, roll it toward you, tie it with a string, put it in a pouch, keep that all day long. The end of your wedding day, burn it. You've gotten rid of, all that. There's a lot of stuff going on your wedding day. There's a lot of stuff
Awesome.
going on in your own, just simple things. You don't have to bring it to, if you don't want to be, you don't want to pray to someone, you don't want to think about it in those terms, you don't have to. You can look at the herbal remedies and those practices that come around. Bay leaves, I talk about in the book, take 2 bay leaves and carry them with you. At the end of the day, burn them or, stomp on them, write someone's name. There are a lot of different things you can do, but these are herbal remedies and they're a practice. It's about developing any kind of practice. And what you develop on a daily basis, it gets stronger and stronger, and you do build up a lot of defenses. Definitely.
So let's talk about some symbols. You really got into a lot of symbols here in your book, and we talked maybe a few minutes about it, but I took a poll, right? I was asking my community what kind of questions that they have for you.
Right.
And one of the questions that came up was, oftentimes you will see the evil eye conflated or being equated to the hand, right? So we have the Hamsa and the Nazar, oftentimes being equated. Is there a difference? Is there an equation? Are you able to explain the two?
So interestingly, yes. So you'll see a Hamsa, which I happen to love. I have more amulets under here. If you heard me, I jingle when I walk. Everyone knows. They say, my nieces say, "Oh, I hear you coming down the hall because you're jingling." So the Hamsa, the hand, in many different cultures or schools of thought, an upraise, the Hamsa that's this way, is very much an amulet that wards away negativity. When it is down, it actually acts as more of a talisman that attracts good health, good fortune, just more positive things. It's more attracting as a talisman versus an amulet where it's repelling a lot of the negativity. But there is a difference. Also, the Hamsa, it has so much incredible. The Hamsa is just like, you can go on and on about the Hamsa. It's the hand of Miriam, it's the hand of Fatima, it's the hand of Mary. It goes on and on. And the difference between the Nazar and the Hamsa is really what your intention is when you use an amulet. And, you have to look at an amulet if it really, if you have a visceral response to it and you look at that amulet and you say, that's what I think it's, if it's in your culture, about it. If it's not, you need to do the adequate research to understand what you're doing with it. The Nazar, when you have the Hamsa, the hand with the eye in it, that's a very popular one. And that's kind of what I call the double duty, because you have the Hamsa and it is attracting things to the Hamsa as a symbol. If it's in this case, and it's attracting good luck, it's attracting positivity, it's attracting good health, it's attracting longevity, those kinds of things. Then you have the eye in it. The eye is then what's repelling the negativity. So when you have the Hamsa and the eye in it, you have a double thing. And I actually have quite a few of those. I love the Hamsa with the eye in it. I also have the Hamsa, I think I have 3 on right now under here, and they're on. One is upraised, one is down. And the Nazar, also a very old symbol. The Nazar, when you look at it, it's an eye. You can see, the iris, the sclera, the pupil, right down. So the eye is a symbol that goes so far back. And, the all-seeing eye, whose eye is that? The eye is always looking. The evil eye is always looking at you and always trying to look at you. But the Nazar, they're different amulets, but your intention is what's going to infuse them with a certain type of energy. Your energy is to ward away the evil eye. Which of those amulets resonates with you?
Right.
And you look at that list, and there are a few amulets on there that are not altogether, common, or not altogether out there. Many people have written to me and have said, "Oh, I didn't know about this amulet until I, read about it," and they're starting to look at it and read about it and research it, and that's a great thing.
And you're seeing more and more interest in it because it is so commercialized and popularized. And even in the places of origin, like when you go to India and the Middle East and North Africa, you know, they profit very much on these symbols that people are becoming more and more aware of. And one of the things that you notice is that the evil eye comes in all these different colors. And I'm wondering, did you come across that in your research? Like, is there really any significance to the colors, or is that just a commercialized thing? Like, does the evil eye come in a very traditional, colorful set, or how does that work?
The traditional, when people say, oh, I'm going to put on my evil eye, what they mean is I'm putting on my nazar. They're talking about the blue and, you know, the blue, the light blue, the white, the black. They're talking about the nazar, and yet they kind of use the terms interchangeably, meaning I'm putting on my evil eye jewelry. Well, no, you're not putting on your evil eye. You're putting on your nazar to get rid of the evil eye or to keep the evil eye away from you. It's the different colors. I do believe that the colors have significance because colors, even when we're doing things like candle magic, even when you're doing anything, colors have specific properties and colors have specific energies. So yes, there are evil eye beads that I even write about in the book. And I say, you know, if you're going to take a red evil eye bead, it might be for, you know, passion, to ward against the evil eye in your relationship, in your marriage. A pink one to ward against the evil eye, for, you know, to not affect your self-confidence. Green, you know, we associate green with prosperity, so to keep your financial life. So you can be very, very specific with the colored beads. I do believe in the power of color very much. And we see that a lot also. That goes across as magical practitioners, you know, candle colors, right? I mean, we look at candles when we're doing candle magic, you know, you associate different colors and say, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, that's going to complete my spell, or that's going to complete my working. So the beads are the different colors. If you're going to use them in the evil eye beads, they sort of they streamline, I think, your intention a little bit more, because a lot of people will say, you know, everything is okay in my life except my love life. It's always cursed, or it's always this, except I can't seem to get ahead at work, your career. I can't seem to, you know, put enough money away, or my finances, I'm always losing this, so there are areas of life that people talk about and they say, no, you know, my family life is okay, my love life is okay, but my job, the career thing, yeah, that's stuff
It's
is
not
going
so good.
on. If you want to get really specific about it and you look at the colors, there are colors that can help you streamline your intention. So that's why I believe in that very much. I think it can absolutely help you streamline your intention.
Speaking of, you know, the history a little bit, when you were talking about the all-seeing eye and the way that the eye sort of throughout history and archaeology and, you know, how it presents itself in these different cultures. Another question that had come up during my poll was, you know, is there a relationship or any significance to the fact that we have a third eye? You know, does that have anything to do with the evil eye?
No, I don't think off the bat, I don't think the evil eye and the third eye have initially on the surface a lot, and sometimes people do get them confused. That happened many times. I've told people, oh, I'm writing a book about the evil eye, and 2 days later they said, oh, Antonio's writing a book about the third eye, and people would come to me and say, oh, really, you're writing a book about the third eye? I said, no, it's a different thing. So what do we know? We talked a lot about the evil eye, and we know what the evil eye is in terms of a curse, and how it's cast in terms of a glance, intentionally, unintentionally, or boasting. But in terms of the third eye, what do we know about the third eye, the pineal gland, and also the fact that it's connected to, in many, many belief systems, your third eye is what opens up the spiritual realm. It's what connects you more deeply to the spiritual realm. So they're different things. The evil eye is one thing. Your third eye is a different thing. They're different. And yet, when you learn how to work with the evil eye energy, when you're learning how to detect it, when you're learning how to cure it, when you're learning how to ward it, you are, whether or not you know it, I'm telling you to know it, you're actually working and opening up your third eye, because you're doing the work. It's one of the ways in which you're opening up. There are many ways to do it, but it's a contributing factor to open up your third eye, because you are working with energy and you are becoming more and more, you know, involved and intimate with your own thoughts and your own energies. And that kind of work, that kind of energy work, is opening up your third eye. And I tell people a lot. And I write about it in the book, and I say, be careful when you start. Make sure you want to do this, because it's not something, just to take with a grain of salt and say, oh yeah, I'm going to learn how to do the evil eye, take out the, you're working with energy, and it's very real. And a lot of people think that it's just, oh, I'm going to, drop an olive oil in water and I'm going to throw salt in a corner and that's that. No, that's not it. It's a very serious thing. It's a real thing. And you're becoming aware of energy. And one thing, energy doesn't go away. It can change form. It doesn't go away in that sense. You can't just sort of, pretend it isn't there. You have to learn how to work. And when you do that work and the energy work, you are opening up your third eye. It's one of the factors to it. So it's an interesting relationship when you get deeply into it, but there are different things. The evil eye is its own thing here, and the third eye is its own subject over there.
Okay. All right.
But what I wanted to mention, if I can, I know I keep talking. I was going to tell you why I didn't answer your question earlier when you mentioned the subtitle of the book about the quiet curse.
Yes.
It's the quiet curse because many people do think about curses and they picture, the old like sort of Hollywood images, someone with candles and graveyard dirt and cats and all sorts of bloody things going on an altar. And sometimes there's validity to how people do cast curses in that way. But curses oftentimes take a great deal of, there are many, many steps to curses. You might have to get someone's, a target's fingernails, hair, something like that. You might have to get a business card. You've got to say certain things. You might be working with a specific time of day, a specific time of the month, specific colors. So those are all factors when it comes to casting a curse. However, the evil eye is dangerous because the quiet curse, you don't need anything. You just have your emotions. And that emotion is a really, really powerful punch. And that's why it's the quiet curse, because you don't know.
Right.
Most of the time. Some of the time you do know. Some of the time you can tell right away if someone's jealous, someone's envious, if someone's angry that you walked into the room or that you sat down at the table, or that you can tell someone's angry.
Oh yeah. I mean, like anyone who has ever, went to a party that they knew a couple of people didn't like them at, you can feel those eyes on the back of your neck. You can feel those eyes as you're walking through the room. Like, it is so unmistakable. Or like when someone's talking shit about you, it's almost like, even though that conversation is happening all the way on the other side of the room.
Oh, it can have that. And you just mentioned something very important. And I mentioned it in the book. It's called the sense of being stared at. And it's an example. And I think we've all been through this. I know I've been through it, and a lot of people I spoke to and interviewed have been through it. You take this example, you walk into a room, it's a crowded room, and maybe you see the person, maybe it's someone you don't like, or someone you had a fight with, or someone you just, whatever it is, and you do everything you can to hide while you're staring at that person, right? You do everything. You stand behind the column, you stand behind people. You say,
like, oh my God, it's my ex.
Right, like, get in front of me, but I want to see what's going on. And then you could be staring, and you're really doing well at hiding yourself, but all of a sudden that person turns around and sees you, and or looks, and and you're like, that I was across the room. And conversely, I've also, and I know people I've spoken to have had the experience, the sense of being stared at, where you will be sitting at a table with your coffee, a book, be walking down the street, you can be walking the dog, anything, and all of a sudden you get that sense to turn around and you look and someone's staring at you.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. That's where the energy aspects of the eye. And historically, there was a time when the theory of extramission was popular. And in the book, I talk about extramission because it means that there was a period where they believed that the eyes emitted energy and actually sort of latched on to they had their own kind of tendrils, the energy, the rays that emitted from the eyes, and it was called extramission. And believed that at one point in history, it was believed that that's what sort of created the field of vision, or the actual the process, sort of the science of sight.
Bro, are we not circling back to that now? Okay, I'm sorry. That's a whole other.
We're circling back to it because that's the history. That is the extramission was a very popular theory at one point. And then intramission became, what is known for the science of sight, that it's not stuff emanating from the eyes, it's the other way around. So, but at one point, people did believe that the eyes, emitted these rays that went out and kind of touched things. And that's how you sort of had this power. And extramission was the theory. And when you think about it, the sense of being stared at. And there are scientists and there are scholars who've, written papers and books. I mentioned them in my book, about the sense of being stared at. And it's a very real phenomenon, because how do you explain that? How do you explain when you turn around and you're alone? You didn't know somebody was there staring at you, but you felt it from across the room, or you're staring at someone, they don't know you're there. They didn't see you come in. They don't know you, but you're staring and they turned around, kind of, because you could feel it.
Right.
You could feel that. You could feel it on the back of your neck. You can feel it. It's almost like a tap on your shoulder intuitively.
It really is. It really is. Now so in the Spanish culture, right? We not only have la mal de ojo, right? We have, the wagging tongue as well, gossip.
Right.
So, right. And that is also considered a form of the evil eye, but it's slightly different. And my friend Steven here brings up a really good point. It's about the tone. And I wonder, do you cover this in your research, or did you notice in your research when you were interviewing people that the evil eye, especially if it's done via a compliment or if it's done like in your face, did they explain to you that in your face compliment is an evil eye because of the way it's being said, by its tone and its like sting? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I do know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, because sometimes you can get what I call in the book the sugar-coated, compliment, but it's really, really sharp underneath.
Like, you full of shit.
Someone will be like, they can say to you, wow, that I really, really like, your new car, and kind of, I love your new, or I'm really glad you got that wonderful new job. And it is sometimes in the tone. You can sense it in the tone. This is where the awareness aspect, I have found through research and through speaking to people, and of course in my own life and practice, I have found that becoming more aware of what the evil eye is and what the energies around it are, the ear also becomes a tool, because you can sense it in someone's voice. You can say, dude, that's those words were supposed to sound nice, or they should have made me feel good, but why does it sound like, you're kind of not doing that? So it becomes a tool. The ear becomes a tool. So you can, those are the sugar-coated. I talk about the sugar-coated compliments that you have to be careful of. Very much so.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. You, do you ever think that the evil eye, and this is kind of going completely left with this conversation, but I don't know, I just feel the need to say it. So like, do you feel, or have you observed in your research, that at the end of the day, destiny or fate is going to run its course, meaning that if the evil eye is meant to sort of enter your sphere and this stream of bad luck occurs, but in the end, something really great comes out of it, is that a thing that you notice in your research with interviewing people? Like, do they have a belief that if an evil eye gets sent to you and things go wrong, but everything works out in the end, that it was actually a blessing in disguise?
The only way I have come across the evil eye being a blessing in disguise for some people is through their lesson, through the fact that they learned that this is real. This energy of the evil eye is real. It was operating in my life, and I took the proactive steps to get rid of it. And I took the steps to make sure it's not going to happen again, or I'm actually warding, to make sure. That was the only sort of thing I recognized in research and talking to people about, I'm glad that happened to me, because it made me realize that this is real. That was the only thing. But with regard to the question of like fate or destiny, it's an interesting question. But I don't know many magical practitioners who really believe very much in destiny or fate, because the old saying that what is the old saying? I don't know, a psychic can tell you your future, or which can help you change it in a way, because it's sort of like, you're working as a magical practitioner, you're working with energies with the intention of changing, either creating a change, for your good or someone else's, or you're intentionally working toward creating something with your energy. So if you're working toward creating it, you really can't hold on to this idea that at the end of it all, here at this point, it's going to be that, because that's been determined from the moment you were born. Then why are you doing all your magical working? You know, if you already believe that you're destined for whatever, you know, for that, or whether it's good or bad, why are you really working so much with your magic? So the idea of fate and destiny, no, I think that as magical practitioners, we work with energy, and we work with so much to really shape our own experiences and to shape our responses to them, to shape what happens in our careers, our lives, our love lives, in our bodies, in our minds. So I don't think people, certainly none that I've spoken to that I recall, have said, you know what, it was a blessing because it happened this way and it led me down this street instead of going down the other one. What I realized in the blessing aspect was that people all the time did say to me, oh, what the good that came out of it is that it made me aware. You know,
so that kind of brings us back full circle again, because it brings us back to this idea that to truly be proactive, to truly be a co-creative person in your life, there is a level of awareness that you must have, and that awareness comes with practice, it comes with meditation, it comes with therapy, it comes with bridging the gap between mind and spirit. Like, there's a lot that goes into the art of awareness in order to protect yourself and in order to work against that evil eye. So it just all comes back. So what advice do you give in the context of this awareness to a non-spiritual practitioner, a non-religious person who does not believe in the evil eye, does not think stuff like this is real? What advice would you give that person? You know, how would you convince them, like, no, this is real and you need to be aware of it?
Well, I think I've tried in many people, and I think for me personally, there's an old saying that says, for the non-believer, no evidence is possible. For the believer, no evidence is necessary. And for those of us who are believers, we already know that. You know, you go into it knowing this energy. When you're practicing or when you're interested in magic or in spirituality, you're already on a path that's taking you to a specific place, or just to a place that's to a broader place. You know, maybe you're leaving a specific place to get someplace broader. So, but it's a path. Spirituality is a path. It's a journey. It's really everyone's specific journey. For the non-believer, I tell people that, and I do have conversations with non-believers always, because there are many people, you know, I love and work with and see all the time who are non-believers. And it's fine if you don't believe, but I tell people to think about what the scientific definitions of energy are. Like, what are those definitions? What is energy? We know. I encourage people to look at I think it was the 2002 last year's, I think the Nobel Prize, it was to look up the science, and it proved so much about the atoms and what's going on scientifically in terms of energy. And there's a much more eloquent way to put it. I'm just putting it I'm putting it in an unscientific way, but look at the science of things. And when you look at what energy is, and you do look at the studies, and you do look at research, and you do look at different things that have happened over the years, different theories that have been that are fact in terms of energy, the fact that the mind, the brain lights up differently when we think different thoughts, the fact that we could see things on scans, the fact that, we know the mind can affect the body. We know all about that. When you look at those things and you want to look at it from a very scientific way, that's great. But your mind is definitely affecting things in your body. You know that. When you're stressed, your body shows signs of it. You know that when you're calm and you're okay, your body is reacting in a different way to a stressful situation. And that's all one thing. That's all energy. So if you can bring yourself to a place where you recognize that you're creating energy in your own body and you're working, that energy is out there beyond you, and it's in another person. And so you're putting that energy out, you're putting out your own energy,
Exactly.
And you're then receiving energy as well. I think you and I talked about this living in New York City. I always say going back to Manhattan, where I live, from out in the country, you can go back and you feel, the energy. You can feel the sort of, there's a sense of the frenetic points, the energy. You can feel that.
Yeah.
And it's very, very much alive. So to a non-believer, I just say to look at the evidence of energy.
Yeah.
And read, think about it, and allow yourself to think about it. A lot of people never allow themselves to think about things with regard to spirituality or magic, or it's the relation between spirituality and science, or the mind, and the body and the spirit. They don't want to think about those things. And I think for a lot of people, and I'm just talking about my own sort of experience in terms of speaking to people, it's also something difficult to, if you're a non-believer and you step into a place of belief, that's a rattling sort of journey that can rattle you up pretty severely. And a lot of people don't want to take that step. A lot of people are afraid to take that step. They say, no, I don't believe in that step. Put a period, close the door. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
Okay. But I say to people, just, be open. Think about energy, read about it.
That's it.
Read about it.
Yeah. So we have come to the end already, and
no, we haven't.
I swear.
Class, we're like in a warp.
I tell you.
In a minute.
So tell the people how to reach you, what you're doing, if there's anything going on. Just tell everyone what's up.
Well, I want to thank everyone who's here and who bought the book, or who's thinking about buying it. I think you'll enjoy it. My website is antoniopagliarulo.com, but it's also italianwitch.com. There's another way to get into my website. If my name is kind of long, and so I grew up with this. There's a whole story about growing up with a long last name, and it's very funny. If you have a long last name, you know what I'm talking about. Growing up, people couldn't pronounce it. But you can also reach me through my website or through italianwitch.com. You can reach me on Instagram, on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I do as much as I can to people, but I'm open to. I'm there, and anyone can reach me. Going forward, yes, I'm definitely working on a new book. I cannot get into it just yet, but at some point I will be able to speak more openly about it. But it's just my own sort of stuff that I'm working on right now. But I just want to tell people to think about things, and that was my point for writing the book. That was the point, is to just get you aware, to get you thinking. And this is something that's very, very, we know what this is, even if you say you don't, you know what it is. I just want people to be aware of it so that they can bring more empowerment into their lives, and so that they can bring more peace into their lives and the lives of their loved ones. Because when you protect yourself, you learn how to protect others. And when you start to protect yourself, what you realize is that through protection, you get to all the other points. When you're protected, when you feel safe, when you're calm, you get to that other point where, then you start thinking, I've done the protection energy. Now I want to work on something else. So it's a foundational starting point for so much. So if you protect yourself, you really learn how to create so much more from that. You protect yourself, you protect others, and you start, so much more comes to you from that. So just get into protecting yourself, because it's so important. So important.
And with that, we are going to end it there, because that is a beautiful closing. It really is. You guys, get this book. Get this book. I promise you, it is amazing. And the goal was to bring awareness to you via this. Yeah. And now you have a follow-up video to walk you through it as well, to help bring awareness as well. So make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you to, let's see who we got in the chat here. We got our boy Steven, we got Zelma, we got Lavita, we got Miss Blackthorn, we got Lisa, Nicole. Thank you guys all so much for being here, and for those who are going to watch on the replay. And of course, Antonio, thank you so much for being here and gracing us with your knowledge tonight.
It was my pleasure. My pleasure. Went by so fast.
It really did. We got to do it again.
Continue the conversation, because I can't. When you said an hour, I was like, no. It happened to us already the other day. Yeah.
So you guys have a beautiful Sunday night. Enjoy the rest of your week, and remember, always remember, this is how we grow. Bye.